I'm Not in Love.
I'm Not in Love by 10cc is one of the most distinctive sounding records in the history of popular music. And it wasn't just the song itself that's unique, it's the groundbreaking production behind it. Now, they didn't use typical instruments. In fact, the entire song was built on voices, hundreds of them. The band had this radical idea to construct a backing track of just vocal ah loops. They recorded 12 notes, a chromatic scale from which they would later play the chords with, but for each note, the three vocalists sang the ahs in unison. Now, if you go to the very beginning of the multi-track, there's a fragment of what one of these vocal loops sounds like. The blip that you hear is the splice, where they cut the tape and join the ends together to create an infinite loop of that vocal note. And this wasn't quite the ethereal sound that they were after, so they did this process 15 more times for 16 different vocal loops, which they then recorded on for 8 minutes onto each of a 16-track machine. And the thought was, maybe that would diffuse the blips on all of the loops, and it did, and it sounds like this. This whole process was done 12 times, one for each note of the chromatic scale, and this was confirmed by the band themselves in a Tape Op magazine interview, and it took them weeks of meticulous work just to get the choir that they wanted. The next step was taking that 16-track machine, which had all of the loops playing the single note, and recording that onto one track of the master 24-track machine, essentially turning one fader into a single note. And they did this whole process 12 times, one for each note of the chromatic scale. Now, once they had all of the notes recorded on the 24-track machine, they could hit play, and by moving the faders in the right combinations, they could create the chord changes of the song in real time, essentially turning the mixing console into a musical instrument. Now, there's one last detail about this vocal choir which is subtle but important, and it's that the faders of each one of those notes never went to complete silence, that at any given time there was this low-level vocal wash atmospheric sound of those voices playing, and you can especially hear it a bit in the very intro of the song. They were creative with other instruments as well, and for example, there are no drums on this record, but they did use a Moog synthesizer to create what sounds like a bass drum. Now, this acts more like a heartbeat more than a regular drum sound, and if you listen closely, you'll hear that the sound of it changes and modulates. Because it was a synth, they could manipulate the sound as the song played on. The Fender Rhodes electric piano is the main instrument here, and it establishes the chord changes and harmony of the song, and it also adds to the ethereal nature of the recording. There's also guitar on this record, but it's not flashy or in your face. It's a clean Gibson 335 sound that's tucked into the mix, adding some texture and depth and a subtle rhythm. And when the first bridge happens, there's a big dynamic shift in the arrangement, and the song breaks down to this treated acoustic piano. Now that piano melody was originally a son vocal with lyrics, and they decided to go with an instrumental version instead. But here's what that original vocal sounded like.
Don't feel let down, don't get hung up. We do what we can, do what we must.
We also have this music box, and it too is treated with effects. The electric bass guitar makes its first appearance playing these slides. And in the second part of this bridge, the bass guitar goes into this melodic part. In interviews, the band has talked about how they were searching for one last element to complete this first bridge, and right at this moment, the studio secretary, Kathy Redfern, had walked in and whispered to one of them that they had a phone call, and this sparked the idea that we can get her to whisper something at the end. And she was hesitant at first, but they cajoled her into the vocal booth. She said this line, from which they made yet another vocal loop from. And some people think the loop says, requesting quiet, but what she actually says is, big boys don't cry.
Be quiet, big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry.
Now when we get to the second bridge, the song shifts again and underscores that this entire song has a unique song arrangement. And here we have electric piano and treated acoustic piano. And here we have more electric bass slides. We have lead vocals.
Ooh, you wait a long time for me.
And if you listen to the end of the second and fourth line, you'll hear that they added an echo, which is contributing to the spacey nature of the song.
Ooh, you wait a long time.
And we also have these harmony backing vocals.
Ooh, you wait a long time for me. Ooh, you wait a long time.
I hope you've enjoyed our deep dive into 10cc's I'm Not in Love, and just as a reminder, as you listen more deeply to a recording, you'll discover all kinds of details and subtle things that are there that can enhance your appreciation and enjoyment of the music. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
I'm not in love.